Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to walk you through my modular digital guitar rig I've been building and actually still working on it. Nevertheless, I decided that I will just show some of its already working features. I've built this unit using Reaper, TouchOSC and a MIDI controller called MIDI Captain. This all is tied together on a pedal train rail and additionally mounted into the wooden board bought from IKEA. And the audio is processed by Audience Evo 4 USB interface. This setup has started as a personal experiment, but quickly evolved into a full system for live performance, sound design, scripting and hands-free control. And the end goal is just to have the rig that needs no mouse, no monitor, just my foot switch, my touch screen and the guitar obviously. So this idea came to my mind just right after I've built my hybrid pedal board that I thought will be my ultimate and final design idea. But as always, this was just a ladder to achieving something hella different, yet more functional and more mobile in my opinion. Because right after I have built my previous setup, it turned out that this is too heavy to carry from gig to gig, so this made me think that I might need something lighter and more powerful in my opinion, and something that will encourage me to play and exercise more on my guitar. So first, I will just briefly go through the sounds examples and then I will explain everything to you. So what we are looking at here is not just a regular guitar rig, it's a modular performance system where every signal and every button has a very specific role. In this example, first and foremost, we have my main clean sound. After a second press of a button, we engage the overdrive pedal. Next, we have the crunch channel. The second press gives me the doubler effect. And the third press results in engaging the synth layer dedicated for this particular sound. So the third control button is for my main lead presets. Another press engages the synth layer as well, but it sets the Omnisphere to use the different preset organized especially for this particular sound. Then we have the experimental lead, but I'm still working on all of those presets, so they are constantly updated, hopefully to the point that I will be 100% satisfied just when I will test everything on stage and then do the needed tweaks. So here is the example of my piezo simulation. And next I'm planning to add some synth vocal mode for this particular channel, but it is not fully ready yet. Then, in my opinion, we have something really fun. So it is the rhythmic synth, where I have also two main sounds. The first one. And the second one. Next is my main fusion sound. And the boosted version, perhaps for solo purposes. Last but not least, I have created a pure synth pad where I can actually choose one of the paths from Omnisphere or any other synth plugin and play some weird noises on that path, or just normal instruments like, say, violin. And the second one. Also, I got the typical tap tempo button, so the Reaper project's tempo changes anytime I click this element. And also, last button that I gotta show is the space incremental button, which cycles through 3 delays and reverb combination presets that are just more and more deep and broad with every increment. So also I have designed it in a way that it allows me to have a control over the separate elements of the chain. And I distinguish two possibilities of engaging those separate elements of the chain. One is just a straight control from a different page of the MIDI Captain, and the second is even easier because it uses the touchscreen and the touchscreen app. Right now I'm going to show you some of those effects that I have placed in my chain. Yeah, so now let's go and dive deep into the system architecture. So my DAW of choice here is obviously Reaper, and honestly, in my opinion, this is the most flexible DAW out there. I've been using it for almost 20 years and it's just never let me down. So it is fast, scriptable, and incredibly stable, perfect for building something custom like this. So on the hardware side, I'm using a MIDI Captain foot controller to switch presets, toggle effects, and even load entire Reaper projects from a single button press. Touchscreen monitor for visual and physical control over effects, presets, and parameters in real time. The top 10 mini PC equipped with AMD Ryzen 5 and 32 GB of RAM, and Audient Evo 4 USB interface. So to bridge everything together, I use the ReaLearn, which handles some of the MIDI logic, conditional actions and communication mappings, and TouchOSC Bridge for sending MIDI between devices and Reaper, and famous Microsoft platform, of course. For automation and deeper logic, I've written over 30 custom Lua scripts using Reaper built-in Rescripts engine, that are being triggered by signals from MIDI Captain unit. Also, I've written a script in Python that can even trigger Windows batch files, which makes it possible to launch entire Reaper sessions with MIDI messages just right after the system boot. And I have also an ultimate batch file that is responsible for deactivating all unnecessary Windows actions like sound notifications or updates. Then the same command batch file opens the TouchOSC session, and then it opens up the Reaper. That is essentially my guitar processing engine. So now we will dive even deeper to explain to you how everything is set up and how everything works. So the guitar signal goes straight into my audio interface, and then in Reaper it is split in two paths. One path is routed directly into multiple audio tracks inside Reaper, where Lua scripts decide which track should be active based on foot controller input. Then my guitar signal flows into multiple FX paths, like as shown lead, clean, ambient, piezo, and so on. In most cases, only one container, or simply path, is active at a time. For that, I use the exclusive OR style Lua logic triggered by MIDI to switch between them. However, in some cases, it might happen that two tracks are being unmuted, but I will explain more about it later. The other path goes into the MIDI Guitar VST, which is a plugin that converts the raw guitar performance into MIDI. That MIDI stream is then used to trigger different synth layer and instruments, effectively turning the guitar into a polyphonic controller. Also, there's the logic layer in place built like XOR switch. So once again, this means that activating one track will automatically mute the other, keeping the performance clean and manageable. In those scripts, there's even a filter, so only plugins named like main or additional within a certain track get enabled, which helps with TouchOSC feedback logic and also allows to quickly change the plugin for a certain path without a need to rescript anything. But at the same time, each track behaves like its own scene. For example, if I double tap a button on the MIDI Captain, as I have already shown, instead of just switching tracks, it recalls a specific REA script that engages the proper presets inside the plugin on the track. So that makes it possible to quickly jump between the variations of the same instrument. Some of the buttons are configured to do even more. When I enable certain tracks, the system simultaneously unmutes a dedicated synth layer and enables a dedicated preset for that MIDI message. So the guitar sound gets automatically reinforced by a synth path or by another effect running in parallel. This way, a single press doesn't just change a tone, it transforms the whole layer stack. At the very end of a chain, there's a global delay and a reverb. Both of those two effects are controlled incrementally, so every press of a certain button deepens the space. First press gives you a small room, second press adds a wider ambience, and the third press builds into a huge atmospheric wash. The system is also bidirectional, which means when I trigger a certain path scene on a given track, it sends a message back to TouchOSC. So this way, the display on my monitor automatically switches the corresponding page, showing me that right faders, controls, and feedback for that specific track that I have chosen to display on that page. So no guesswork, the screen always mirrors the active state of the rig. And also, this allows me to do some quick changes within the path without a need for going into the settings inside Reaper. So all of this is controlled from just a few buttons on a complex MIDI foot controller. One button can act differently depending on whether I tap it, hold it, or double tap it. That allows for an entire looping system, similar to a Boss RC1, where the same button starts recording, stops it, overlaps, and clears the loop. So in short, it's a guitar-driven performance system where audio, MIDI, synths, and effects are all tied together through custom scripts, presets, and control logic. So every press, every gesture has been mapped to something meaningful and very much intended. And the result is a rig that feels alive, constantly adapting to what I play, but never forcing me to reach the mouse or monitor. Yet having a very powerful processing unit right below my feet. As a honorable mention, I would like to tell about the smart, short Python script that works in a way that before anything starts, it listens to which MIDI control message is being sent by foot through the computer, and then it triggers the proper engine for a specific scene. So it might happen that I will be taking a part in the Fusion gig, the Pro gig, the Stoner gig, and after choosing the proper button, the proper engine will be fired up. So this means that the proper Reaper project will be enabled or engaged. Also, I have written a Lua Reaper script that is responsible for handling the cap simulation. So those cap simulations are in my project exposed as envelopes. I wrote a global script that toggles these envelopes across all matching tracks. For example, everything labeled A or D should be disabled or enabled anytime I press a certain button that triggers this script. It works independently of those FX states or presets, so I can flip a whole group of plugins on or off instantly. Summing up, if you're a guitarist, a live performer, or a tech-savvy musician, I hope that this gives you some kind of inspiration, because I believe that nowadays you don't really need that amount of rig anymore. You just need a well-designed modular rig that works with you and not against you. Let me know in the comments if you have some similar experience building something like that, or if you have any questions about the scripting, live control, or maybe the Reaper itself. I'd love to hear about your setup and your opinions about it. And all the scripts that I have talked to you about will be able to be found and forked on my GitHub repository, which will be linked right below this video. And I encourage you to check out my original music project called Raven Trophy, that will also be mentioned in the description. Well, thanks for watching and stay tuned for my upcoming productions.